J.D. Vance absolutely dominated Tim Walz in their only vice presidential debate, leaving the Democrats in a tough spot. Kamala Harris is already lagging in the polls, and with Trump gaining ground in key swing states, Walz's lackluster performance only made things worse. Now, both Harris and Walz are facing mounting pressure with just a month to go before the election. In this video, I'll give you an in-depth look at the updated 2024 electoral map, showing how things have shifted for both Harris and Trump since that crucial debate. We'll break down which states are firmly in each candidate's corner, which ones are still up for grabs, and how the electoral map stands just weeks before Election Day. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button like this video and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Let's kick things off with the solid states where either Harris or Trump are expected to win by a wide margin of 15 points or more. These are the states that aren't really in play and are more or less guaranteed for one side. Harris can count on winning states like Washington, California, Hawaii, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. She's also expected to secure Maine's first congressional district, which leans strongly Democratic. Altogether, these solid blue states give Harris 109 electoral votes right off the bat. On Trump's side, his solid states look even stronger. He's poised to win Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, most of Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, South Carolina, Alaska, and Maine's 2nd District. Trump also has Iowa in his corner, where he's been polling very well, especially after Vance's strong debate showing. Iowa is a state that has leaned more Republican in recent years, and Trump's margin there is likely to be significant. With these solid states accounted for, Trump jumps out to an early lead with 132 electoral votes compared to Harris's 109. Next, we move to the likely states, those where the candidates are expected to win by 7 to 15 points. These are competitive, but not quite toss-ups. For Harris, her likely states include Oregon and Illinois. Both went comfortably for Joe Biden in 2020, but Harris isn't performing quite as well as Biden did. While Biden won Oregon by 16 points and Illinois by 17, Harris is expected to win them by slimmer margins, just over 7 points, putting them in the likely blue category. In the Northeast, Harris is likely to win New York, New Jersey, and Delaware, but even these states have become more competitive recently. The Democratic Party has been hit with scandals in these areas, from Andrew Cuomo's resignation in New York to corruption charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams and New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez. These issues are dragging down the Democratic brand in these states, which is why Harris isn't expected to perform as well as Biden did in 2020. Colorado is another likely blue state for Harris. Biden won it by almost 14 points, but Harris is likely to see a smaller margin of victory there, though it's still expected to stay in the Democratic column. It's a liberal-leaning state, but Trump will probably do a bit better than in previous elections. On Trump's side, his likely states include Ohio, which he flipped in 2016 and won again in 2020. This year, Ohio looks even more solidly Republican, with Trump expected to win by double digits. Texas is another likely red state, though it's become more competitive in recent years. Trump won Texas by 6 points in 2020, and this time he's expected to widen that margin to around 10 points. Florida is another key state that's shifting firmly into the Republican column. While it was a battleground in previous elections, Trump is now expected to win by a comfortable margin of 7 to 10 points, thanks in part to Governor Ron DeSantis' overwhelming win in 2022. With Texas, Ohio, and Florida in the likely red category, Trump's path to victory is looking strong. Now, let's look at the remaining competitive state, starting with the lean and tilt categories. These are the states that will decide the election. Lean states are expected to be won by 2 to 7 points, while tilt states are much closer with a margin of less than 2 points. Harris is the few lean blue states like New Hampshire and Maine, where she's expected to win by 4 to 6 points. New Mexico, traditionally a Democratic state, is also leaning blue, but the margin there is shrinking as the Hispanic electorate shifts slightly toward. For Trump, his lean red states include Arizona, which he's favored to win after losing it in 2020. Polls show Trump leading consistently in Arizona, and he's likely to flip it back in 2024 with a margin of 3 to 4 points. North Carolina is another lean red state that Trump won in 2016 and 2020, and he's expected to win it again by around 3 points. Georgia, which Biden narrowly won in 2020, is leaning back toward Trump as well. Despite the close race last time, Georgia remains a conservative state, and Trump is favored to win by around 3 points. with these lean red states, Trump is edging closer to the 270 electoral votes needed to win. Pennsylvania, often seen as the key battleground, could be the state that pushes him over the finish line. Trump won Pennsylvania in 2016, but lost it in 2020 by a narrow margin. Now, polling suggests he's retaken the lead. And if he wins Pennsylvania, his path to victory becomes much clearer. Wisconsin is another crucial state in the lean red category. Despite being close to Tim Walz's home state of Minnesota, Wisconsin isn't showing much support for Harris after Walz's disappointing debate. Trump has historically performed well in Wisconsin, and he's favored to win it again by a narrow margin. Finally, we have the tilt states, which include Nebraska's 2nd District, Nevada, Michigan, Minnesota, and Virginia. These are the most closely contested states, expected to be decided by less than 2 points. Nebraska's 2nd District is expected to tilt blue, while Minnesota and Virginia are leaning slightly Democratic. However, these states are still very much in play, and the final weeks of the campaign will be critical in determining where they ultimately fall.